Let me find one thing. Good evening, and welcome to the November 8th, 2023 regular meeting of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors. I'd like to say Happy Veterans Day week, and let's remember our veterans as we go through the next couple of days as we celebrate Veterans Day. Having said that, it's customary that we hold a moment of silence. We just ask that everyone join the board for a few seconds, take a couple of deep breaths, and prepare for the meeting this evening. Thank you. Would you please join us for the reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Manager, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that then, we can move right into considering the advertisement of the proposed 2024 budget. So I guess the best thing to do is to entertain a motion. Would there be a motion to advertise the 2024 budget? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have any discussion from the board?
Can you go over the rules and regulations relating to that?
So once a budget is advertised, the board has an option of either adding or subtracting. There can't be any more additional expenses over 10% in the aggregate or 25% in any major category, or would require the budget to be re-advertised for a period of 10 days. There's no limit on any cuts that are made after the advertisement.
So it has to be advertised for 20 days now?
20 days, correct.
Okay, thank you.
That was my question too about the 20 days. Any other questions? I just had a couple of things to say. With this budget, we are able to hire one additional police officer, 4 firefighters, purchase some capital items in each of our departments. We are able to contemplate and begin construction once the design phase is over of our LED light systems. So we would be, and that would be a long-term savings. So that's something that will save us money in the future. There's an outlay of money right now, but in the future we'll get it all paid back. There's dedicated funding for the rapid rectangular flashing beacons construction at two sites. There is a tax increase, but it's less than $7 a month by my calculations. It would go from currently the average cost of $433 to $511. Again, much less than most of our homeowners association fees, and certainly less than my homeowners association fee. I guess just a couple other things to say. Other municipalities are facing the same increase in cost for fire services. I've noted articles in the Patch and elsewhere, the Bucks County Courier-Times, about Wrightstown, Northampton, and Newtown Borough. I know from personal experience, negotiating their agreement with them, that they'll face some increases in costs too for fire services. I can certainly support this budget because it offers additional services that are cost effective. Yeah, and the other part about advertising the budget is that the public can finally see it, all the numbers. We've had the manager's budget presentation on the website for a few weeks, but now we'll actually have all the numbers. So those are all the things I have to say. I don't know if anybody else has anything, any other board members has anything to say. We can open it to the public for comment for the budget.
Well, we'll be discussing the budget for, till it's approved for the next month or so, correct?
The next 2 meetings at least, yes.
So we'll have plenty of time to have conversations in regards to what's in the budget and what's going to be approved in the budget.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no other comments, move to the vote. So all those in favor of approving the 2024 budget for advertising, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right. That brings us to our first session of public comment. So if there's anybody in the audience who would like to make comment for anything not on the agenda, please feel free to come ahead. Anyone? Okay. Oh, okay. Mr. Farrar, how you doing?
Quite well, Mr. Fisher. And congratulations to the candidates that were reelected. Thank you all for all your continuing efforts. And I thought I'd wait, but the advertising of the budget brings up some questions that were unanswered from last BOS meeting that were actually directed to the engineers with regard to the amounts that were applied for in the ARLE grants and how they carry over or apply to the 1 mil increase in the tax budget for next year. So I thought maybe it's appropriate for me to come up now. As I recall, you thought it was good that I pose all the questions early and that they might be addressed. And that's one that comes up. Deanna was here last time, but I'm hoping that the question was passed on to the engineers. And that is, what was the amount in the ARLE grant request for the Newtown Yardley Tara crosswalk? What was the amount for the Sycamore Silo? And what, if any, amount was applied for PennDOT grant funds for the LED traffic light conversion in the township? So those are the questions with regard to that.
Mr. Manager, did you get those questions written down? We can maybe do a written reply.
Yeah, Charlie, just do me a favor, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email with those questions, and I'll send it to the engineer and get you a response.
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay. There are other questions with regard to the planning process and how this goes forward, because a lot of Newtown citizens have approached us about the crosswalk, at least the Tara Boulevard, and they say, what's going on? You know, what's the delay? And we're sort of hard-pressed to explain what we know, because a lot of the questions we have haven't been answered. And it's been a year and 4 months, a year and 2 months since the Board of Supervisors approved this project, and nothing's happened. So that's why we keep asking the questions to see where it is. And one of the questions I had before was Mr. Mack proposed that $250,000 of funding for the Sycamore Silo crosswalk might be applied to the Newtown Yardley Tara because the funds hadn't been spent. But we weren't sure what was happening with that because when I asked that last month, there was no answer. So that's why these questions are sort of reoccurring. Because people are asking us, what's up with the crosswalks? There are people still speeding on Newtown Yardley Road, and some people use the crosswalk quite frequently. And it's part of the Newtown Trail. So that's why we keep asking the questions. And there are more, but I won't ask them at this point unless you feel it's appropriate. We're expecting, I believe the PennDOT plans were submitted. Deanna told us last month, 30 days, we'll find out if they're approved. And she didn't know the answer to what the cost for the project was that was put in the ARLE grant, which I thought was kind of odd because how can you move to the next step, spec it out, and have Mr. Lewis bid out the project when the funds are either approved through the grant, through ARLE, or they're part of a tax increase? And this is November. So that's sort of the basis of the questions. And sure, Mike, I can shoot you an email. But it's not just us that are concerned. We get asked by other people in Newtown. So if anything, the township engineer can offer anything more on
I want to ask a question.
the process, once the ARLE funds are granted, or if the funds are coming, are the specs all done to bid out the project? Does it go out? What's the bid process period? When would ground be actually broken to put in the posts for the crosswalk lighting?
I just had a question for the engineers. Have PennDOT responded to
And Mr.
the
Mack,
plan?
if you may, just for a second, before we get into a lot of back and forth, and
It's
certainly
not
I'll-
back and forth. I'm
certainly-
just asking one simple question.
Yeah,
that's all.
and I'll allow it, but I just don't want to get in, I don't want to have an expectation of public comment being a back and forth dialogue. It's
I'm
more
not
a
having,
chance
I'm not
for
having a
folks to-
dialogue. I'm asking the engineer. I
Okay.
could ask the engineer later if you want, when it's the
You might-
engineer's turn.
Yeah, that's why I thought, as we did last time, I'd pose the questions so they can be addressed as you proceed.
Yeah, and I thought I answered some at the last meeting, but we'll give you the answers again. And maybe in more detail, if you put them in writing, we'll understand them better.
Some of the ones we didn't get.
Yes.
Thanks. All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Valerie Mahalik, also from Newtown Walk. Thank you all for all that you do, and congratulations on your win last night. We wish you all the best. So I guess, I don't know if this is the appropriate place to ask, what are the chances of having the crosswalk completed in 2024? I don't know where that falls in line at the meeting, if it's during the engineer's report or if it's during another time in the meeting, but as Charlie was just articulating very well, we just want an answer to give to our community since we're now going into yet another year where we continually see people have so many close calls. What are the chances of it being completed next year? And I think of what my father used to always say to me, Valerie, all it takes is money. So I just want to make sure that whether it's the 1 mil tax increase that was proposed for this, or the 250 that was originally for the Silo Sycamore project that Mr. Mack had mentioned at the June 14th meeting be redistributed to our crosswalk, or as Charlie stipulated, the ARLE grant. So we just want to know, with all three of those, we just want it to get done in 2024. And I'm not sure if this is, I know, Mr. Fisher, you said public comment is not the place to go back and forth, so I don't know where in the meeting that question can be answered for us.
We can answer it in the next section under board members' reports.
Thank you.
Any others? No. Okay, public comment via email. Inbox. Okay. I'm reading this for the first time. From Stacy Rosenthal McCowan, this is the one we were referring to? Okay. This is from Stacy McCowan, 14 Churchill Drive in Churchill Lane, in Newtown. I asked the board to encourage PennDOT to perform a safety inspection at the intersection of Richborough Road and West Hanover Road, West Hanover Street. Oh, gee. And I just lost it. My fingers got too close to my screen. Okay, a search of, and this is very big. Yes. So it's an intersection of Richborough Road and Hanover Street and the south entrance of Tyler State Park. Please see attached statistics on accidents according to one fatal crash. Okay. A search of reportable and non-reportable accidents at the intersection of Richborough Road and West Hanover Street between September 1st, 2020 and November 6th, 2023 yielded the following results. Type of accidents reportable. And there's, maybe I can paraphrase this. This is a list of 1, 2, lost it again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 events. One is reportable, 2 is reportable, 3 and 4 of those 16 events, if I remember my numbers, 4 were reported, reportable. There was a reportable vehicle crash. There was a reportable fatal incident. There was a reportable struck pedestrian. There was a reportable struck pedestrian, and all the rest are non-reportable. Let me see if there's other. So she's asking in her comment. I'm not sure what the
Mr. Chair, I think she wants us to
is.
ask PennDOT to perform a safety inspection. That is a PennDOT road, so we'd have to ask them to perform a safety inspection, and that's what her request is. So I guess we could
Okay, there it is.
pass that on to the manager.
There's 2 different size fonts, and I adjust for the one, and I can't read the other. So, but yes.
So maybe the manager can contact, or the engineer can contact PennDOT in regards to the that section of Richborough Road.
Yeah, I believe we did get an email from her earlier or late last week, and I did follow up with the manager, and so there's we can continue to follow up with that, with PennDOT. It is a PennDOT highway. Okay. Thanks for flagging that for me, for us. Any other public comment? Yes, please come up to,
I'm just saying respectfully, we cannot hear you, and your speech is garbled through that microphone.
okay.
I thought we would all be able to, maybe the microphones aren't projecting well, but I think people can hear me speak to you. Could you speak up a little bit louder, maybe? We would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It is what it is with my voice. All right. Are there any other public comments? As I yell and as it hurts my voice to yell. But, okay. That moves to reports on committees, boards, and commissions. And I believe we will report from the EAC.
Good evening. My name is Elaine McCarron. I'm your co-chair of the EAC. Tonight, we're going to be doing an update on the proposed single-use plastic ordinance. At this time, we have 24 municipalities in Pennsylvania that have now passed a single-use plastic ordinance. I have compiled a list of these municipalities, which I did not give in your packet, but the municipalities, the bans in styrofoam, there is 8, including the plastic bags. That's, this is separate. Plastic straws are 11, and plastic utensils are now 2. Our ordinance will be implemented, if it passes, 120 days after the effective date, which we anticipate to be in April 2024. The delayed implementation will allow time for businesses to use up their plastic inventory and allow time for education. That's education for our businesses and for our residents. Businesses will be required to post signage with the EAC has created a sample sign, which you have all received in your package. It has a QR code that will go directly to the frequently asked questions. And you all, again, receive that in your package, and we would have it on our website for all our residents and businesses. It'll then be 90 days after the effective date, and for 6 months thereafter, that this has to be posted. The draft ordinance includes some of the following: a ban on single-use carry-out plastic bags. Plastic straws and utensils will be available only upon request, and that is the ADA rules, American with Disabilities Act. As a matter of fact, what has happened in businesses, it reduced their inventory and reduced their cost. Styrofoam is banned with exceptions for food safety reasons, such for meats and fish, and I'm sure, John, that answers your question, if restaurants can use it. Recyclable paper bags may be provided by the business for a minimal charge of 10 cents. That 10 cents came to us and was asked by specifically Acme, can it be more of 10 cents versus 15 cents? Reusable plastic bags must have stitch handles made of machine or hand-washable fabric and sold for a fee set by the business. As you can see, the business will not incur any cost. There is no negative effect to the business for it. And again, as it is a positive. Exceptions will be made for plastic bags used within the store to pack perishable items. And after meeting with over 115 businesses, we decided fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, and we added candy, because at this point, our chocolatier was at our April 3rd meeting, and we had a discussion with him until we find better alternatives. Businesses can request extensions if they have excess bag inventory. In case of violations, businesses will first be given a warning before any violations will be imposed. Following the passage of the ordinance, education will be the priority of our EAC for our residents and our businesses. The EAC will be providing a vendor list for businesses for plastic alternatives and suppliers of recyclable paper bags, and we are compiling it. However, it is here already. This list is from all the other municipalities in Pennsylvania, including New York, including New Jersey, and we have them from all the surrounding states. So we will take this list, compile it, for everybody to have. We also have, we just met with Harvest, and Harvest has their suppliers and is very, very willing. They are already compliant, and they're very, very willing to work with our businesses in town to help us out. For tonight's meeting, I have provided the packages for all the Board of Supervisors, for our Township Manager, Michael Lewis, and our Solicitor, David Sander. Our proposed ordinance has been reviewed by our Solicitor, David Sander. I want to emphasize there is no detrimental effects by our businesses. They will keep the money for the 10 cents or if they're going to sell a reusable bag. This is, I just want to say, this is a local problem. We have all heard from Penn Environment. All 53 of the waterways, including our local waterways, are loaded with macro and microplastics. It is a national problem, it is a global problem, and I don't want to get into this now, but all, as of 2021, all European nation countries are now participating, now Canada, even Chile, and we're up to 99 countries that have now passed ordinances. 32 have also imposed bag fees of these countries. I want to read, and I won't take much more of your time, but I want to read a very important statement that affects us personally here. A 5-gram light plastic bag is light, but it adds up. Americans use on an average of 365 plastic bags per person per year. Denmark only uses 4. A U.S. town of 25,000, we have approximately 20,000 residents, generates 10 million bags per year at 82 tons of plastic. There is a calculator that has, which I have, which will also be on our website, on how many bags are calculated for Newtown. At this time, it is approximately 7 million plastic bags will come out of the stream that goes into our garbage, into our oceans. That is, and we are only a small town, so could you imagine taking 7 million plastic bags out of our township alone? That plastic bag is less than 5 grams. Your typical grocery store cake or salad holder weighs over 60 grams. Imagine the impact of reducing all that plastic in our environment. And I do want to add, which I have here from Philadelphia, there was a formal study done that it only took 6 months for consumer behavior to change. This was unexpected, and also, and it gives percentages. I will also share this for everybody to see this. I want to say one more thing. Upper Marion, which is the King of Prussia Mall, every single store now is participating in their ordinance. They were happy to participate. They are doing bags, straws, styrofoam, but they're also now phasing in utensils. To review our corporations, Mr. Mack asked me this question. I would like to answer him. Which stores said that if we have an ordinance, they will participate? Chipotle, then these are corporate. Okay, Chipotle, Acme actually worked with us. Dana Ward, the regional manager, worked with us. Iron Hill Brewery, Solstice, we went out. a business. PetSmart stated it's on a corporate level. They're all over New Jersey and other states. They know how to comply. If the ordinance, they told me, if there's an ordinance, we will cooperate. Ace Hardware said the same thing to me. And I want to address Mr. Mack's question about a statement that was made on the April 3rd meeting concerning McCaffrey's and a state band, okay? Farron Savage from Penn Environment said there was never an ordinance on the state band, on state level, that they said will come up in December. No, it was never discussed. This is a bottom-to-top grassroots effort, similar in every single state that has done this, all right? Okay, what do I say? Oh, and I just want to say Wegmans is opening only a half mile away from McCaffrey's and from Giant, and this was another question that was asked of me. And they have already stated they are not concerned. They are already stated on their website they will be plastic-free. So I think this is a non-starter. I don't think their complaint is valid. It was a good question, you know, would they be at loss? But all the municipalities surrounding us, I mean, remember, we're up to 24. Lancaster just passed, and I'm in a plastic coalition. There's over 20 to 30 that are coming down the pike at this point. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, I have one more thing, I'm sorry. I did also, for our website, I do have, it's called a playbook. This is how to teach our stores and how to teach our residents, you know, how to train your employees on how to make the transition. So here it is, and I'll make it available to anybody that's interested. Any questions?
Ms. Snyder?
Can you name the other Class 2 municipalities, please?
Yes,
that
I
have
can. If you can
passed
give me a
this?
second, I will get it out for you. Okay, here it is. I have this for everybody's packet, but I will do it anyway. Solberry Township, Tredyffrin, West Goshen, East Township, Lancaster, just passed, Montgomery Township, Springfield, Upper Marion Township, I can't pronounce this, Uchlin Township? Uchlin? Sorry, I'm from New York, I don't know how to do this. And White Marsh. I also have your first class, your cities, and your surrounding states in here for everybody to see. Sorry. Any other questions? Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I know I asked you a bunch of questions. Thanks for answering some of them. You had a draft ordinance.
Yes, I have it right here.
And I wonder, is this something that has to go through the Joint Zoning Council, or is this just Newtown, though?
No, it's just Newtown. And I think that question was addressed to Mr. Sander. With all the other townships, it went from the Board of EAC with the Board of Supervisors, and then they had a vote on it.
Right. And
But that's a good question. We can find that out.
I was trying to understand all the details, and I brought in some samples. Of course, this bag would be prohibited.
Right.
But there were some items that you said were not, and like when I go to the Chinese,
Right.
I get this, or I get soup in this. It seems that these are not prohibitive.
Okay, they're no less toxic. You know, if you look at them, they can't even be recycled. Most of them are, if you look on the numbers. At this time, that's why I said we have an alternative vendor list. We can only encourage them to do it at this time.
Yeah, because that occurred on page 5, if you're interested in looking at it, under
Right.
shall not include, and it lists non-foam polystyrene food services products. So I thought these are what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And just so you know, I did go to all of these restaurants, okay?
And did you get food from them?
Yes, and that's why I went to them. And I did try to have a discussion, and I don't want to be negative, but every time I went. They said, we can have a meeting, and then they weren't there. And I tried several times, and I'll still try several
Okay.
times.
The
I will
thing-
try.
The thing that I'm most interested in is not exactly enforcement, but the temporary exemptions.
Right.
For example, mentioned on page 9 of the draft ordinance, paragraph 10-710A. It said the Board of Supervisors or its designee may, in its sole discretion upon written request of a retail establishment, exempt retail establishment, blah, blah, blah.
Should I
I'm kind
explain
of
that?
reluctant to put this on the Board of Supervisors. Why doesn't it go through the zoning hearing board like other, like a variance? Because you do mention that this would happen if it would cause undue hardship. That's exactly what, when people go to the zoning hearing board about our zoning or whatever, it's causing them undue hardship and they're trying to make a case and they go through the whole process. Why wouldn't we go through the zoning hearing board?
It's a good question. I think that is very valid. And I think if we can work together as a team and talk about it and see what's the best for our personal.
Well, because this kind of spreads it out. It may even get the planning commission involved as it is, and the Board of Supervisors still always have the option of being a party to the case in front of the zoning hearing board. I don't like the idea of some kind of designee being in charge of giving these exemptions, because who knows what goes under the table or behind closed doors, especially with big establishments that have a lot of money at stake. So, you know, I just wanted to, at some point, get that clarified before we,
That's excellent.
It's a good question. I'm thinking that maybe because it's not a zoning issue per se, that would limit the ability to take it to the zoning hearing board. But, I mean, it's a good question.
would we have to create a different kind of board, maybe?
This is not
It
for.
seems like a code issue to
Yes.
me.
Yes, and this is not for punishment purposes at all. So in other words, people come and ask for an exemption, it's not going to take us into the weeds to say, yes, you can have an exemption, because 98% of the time, that's exactly what we're going to say. This, again, it's not to punish people, it's just to slowly get them into the habit of breaking their use of single-use plastic. So it's, you know, it's something that is not, you know, they're not going to come here and beg us for something that we're not going to give them. We're going to allow it, and we're going to help them find an alternative. So that's really what it's all about, the educational process. And it's, again, we're not punishing anybody, we're just trying to help the environment, and
your
nobody
health.
is going to be prosecuted for not using the right
Well,
thing.
whatever the process is, I just think it needs to be more clarified, maybe. I'm not sure how to go about doing that, but anyway, I just wanted to bring
No,
that up.
I think it's an excellent question, because we actually spoke about it in the EAC. I do want to tell you that the exemptions were more for the, I went to all these township meetings, and especially the one in Doylestown, this came up, exactly. And this was more a product of inventory problems and COVID, and now it doesn't seem to be an issue. It's not coming up in the newer, when we discuss it at a plastic ordinance once a month, there are, right now, I think there's over 50 townships involved in it, and I will actually, that's coming up, I'll bring that question up to them exactly.
That's a good idea to see how other townships are handling it.
I'll do that for you, and I'll report back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question in regards to enforcement. And maybe you can go more into detail how other townships do this. But I'm reading where it says the township manager, again, or his, her designee, shall have the primary responsibility for enforcement of this ordinance. What are they supposed to do? Who's supposed to enforce? And how do you prove that there's been a violation?
Right.
Say someone doesn't like a particular establishment, calls the township and says, hey, I seen plastic bags coming out.
Right.
Is that enforcement, or does there have to be some sort of visible proof
Yes.
that something is wrong?
Yes. And it's interesting. Again, I asked that same question of all these townships, and it's very interesting. They actually designated somebody in the township, in the office. You know, they gave them another title. Most of them did. And so the complaint went to them before it went to the township manager, and it was looked into. So they actually have, I can show you the other, I can share with you the other townships, and I will. They have an enforcement officer, but they have dual titles. So they actually did that, and we've never done anything like this here. So that's an absolute excellent question, and that came up in the EAC as well. So yeah, I will look that up for you. Okay.
My questions were about, I'll give you a chance to write that down.
I'm sorry?
I said I'll give you a chance to write that down.
Oh, I did.
Okay. My question is about the time limits, like the 90-day time limit and the 120-day time limit.
Okay, let me repeat
How
that.
how did those get in, those particular time limits get into?
From all the other townships. We actually put together, I laid it out in the EAC, in our EAC meeting, all of these ordinances. And with Penn Environment, we are in constant contact with, Farron Savitz, and that's how the timing came. They found that over time, people complied. I mean, and so that's where the 120 days came from. The 90 days, what you're looking at, that's only to post this. And this, again, will be the frequently asked questions.
Okay.
And then it's, so they can keep up their sign. It's just that they only are required from the 90 days before, it's 120 days, so before that 90 days, before it goes into effect, they have to post it, and then 6 months thereafter. So we can change that too if you find you would like it longer.
No, I think it's perfect. What we're
Okay.
trying to do is have the same thing in every township, so we're all doing the same thing with the same time limits. That way, it's a blueprint that we all can follow, and any townships that come after can follow. It's a blueprint that we're all trying to do in the same manner.
Right, and what, like I said, what we did is we laid out all the townships. We wanted to see what everybody was doing, because it's not fair for the businesses, it's not fair for consumers. They go to one township, it's one thing. They go to another township, it's another. No, we're actually all consistent, and I would invite you even to listen to the Plastic Coalition. It's being run by 2 townships that have already passed, and everybody's invited to be part of that, but that's where it came from.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. I just have one more question in regards, I think you had mentioned that if a company or business has a large supply, they can go through the process of depleting that supply?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, is there a time limit or I mean, what if, we pass this ordinance and the day before, somebody orders like 10,000 plastic bags?
So they ordered 10,000 plastic bags. I mean, we can't,
No, there's an enforcement.
yes, but if they can, but this is, we have this discussion back and forth. If they can show us receipts, see, I'll tell you how Doylestown did it also, because it was most recent, okay? somebody came up and said, I ordered 3 years of blah, and they said, well, there's a reasonable amount of time, okay? We'll give you the year. Okay, that's what they did. But you must show us proof. You can't just state it, because then it's inconsistent.
Well, I'll just give you an example. I know I've been wondering for years why Dunkin' Donuts hasn't phased out their styrofoam cups. On the larger size, the smaller ones are paper cups. Now, I was told, or I read somewhere where they had a period that they were going to go through like a couple years to phase them out nationwide. But if you go into a Dunkin' Donuts,
They're still there.
they have a ton of supply in there, and I'm just curious, is there any kind of
Yeah.
recourse that you could have against someone, like, I mean, it's a big corporation, so what could be done in that aspect?
Move their supply somewhere else where there's no ordinance. I mean, there has to be some reasonable time. I think a year, 6 months, a year, I think is reasonable. I can just tell you, though, and I've done this. I spoke and went to 115 businesses. Most of them are already complying. I mean, and something like a Dunkin' Donuts, what they do, and I know from Wendy's what they're doing, and Arby's, and they're moving it to other places. They're corporate. So where you have the ordinance, they comply. And they told me, I actually met with Wendy's, and they were up at our meeting as well, and they said, we will comply. You have the ordinance, we'll comply. And initially, there was hesitancy, but they go, oh, well, there's probably, oh, we're going to go. Where are you going? You're being surrounded by, look what happened in New York, New Jersey, every state from here to Maine. I live also in South Carolina. It's all in South Carolina, and way down, Delaware, you keep going. Everybody has it now, but they have it on the state. It started like us on the grassroots level, and it went to state. So that's what's happening now.
I can say from personal experience that I work at a food bank, and it's in Philadelphia, and people bring in their own bags to get the food.
Yeah.
And we still offer bags,
Right.
because it's simpler to get it ready ahead of time.
Right.
But
And this
they
is
do
where
bring
that
them in.
study, this is a formal study that I will give to you that shows they never expected this, that it turned around very, very quickly. And everybody is pleased. I mean, I could say we're drowning in plastic, but anybody now, CBS News, they were just on the news, we're drowning in plastic. I mean, it was just there. Barron's, New York Times, everybody, all our newspapers have huge articles if everybody reads it. Our local newspapers have it. This is a very, very serious problem. We have 7 gyros now of plastic in the ocean. And by the time of 2050, plastic will outdo fish. It's in 1 of 3 fish that you eat now. It's in your food supply. And so I'll end with this. Even the Google CEO is now helping to fund a major research vessel in the oceans with all major scientists, because our oceans absorb our heat. Now they're trying to figure out if plastic is there and where it is in the ocean, the middle level to the lower ocean, how is it absorbing our heat? So, this is a severe environmental effect. So I would just hope that we can heed the call and be part of the solution. So, anything else?
My hope would be, and if the board agrees with me, that next meeting, maybe we can look at the ordinance and advertise it
Good. And I
for
absolutely
everyone
will.
to see.
I will have everybody's answers for them, because they're excellent questions.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to board members. I have just a couple of items to report. attended the NFA meeting, the Newtown Fire Association meeting, Monday a week ago, and they passed their budget for the coming year. That was the highlight of their meeting. And the jointure meeting last Thursday, the Joint Zoning Committee, we meet in Wrightstown, and that's with Wrightstown, Upper Makefield, and Newtown. And we discussed at length a number of issues, but we discussed one issue in length, and that was making revisions to the electronic vehicle charging station ordinance that we're writing, so we can get our cars charged around town. I did take a drive around the West Hanover and Richborough Road area once we got the email last week, and as I referred it to Township Administration. So I did want to see exactly what was going on there, how the lanes were aligned. So that was some of the things that I did. And Mr. Vice Chair, you want to give a report?
Well, I didn't prepare notes, but I also attended the jointure meeting and was very interested in the electronic vehicle charging ordinance. There were lots of things in there that I didn't realize. I mean, part of it was how to regulate people, like I know Ms. Snyder has a charging station. There was talk in the ordinance about even if you're a private citizen and you have a electronic vehicle charging station attached to your garage, you know, how are you supposed to use it or not use it? For example, they were talking about you shouldn't be charging people money to use your own charging station, that sort of thing. And there was talk about the safety when you coil the cables. I didn't realize that the cables can get overheated somehow, and there was one member there who had experience in this. So I got into details like that, and I just hope that it was a public meeting. It was done via Zoom, and usually Mr. Pogonowski, the chair, posts the recording on YouTube, so I'm waiting for that to happen to review the discussion again. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Ms. Snyder?
I have no meetings to report. I do want to make a comment to address the community that is addressing us tonight, and that is that we understand your frustration 100%. We have that frustration too. Government, parts of government works at a very slow pace, and that's something I've had to adapt to as well. I'm not used to that. I'm like, go, go, go. So I understand, and I particularly understand that intersection. And all we can do is, the only way we can hurry it up is to hope that PennDOT comes back to us with what they approve or recommend, and then we can move forward as quickly as possible. Because believe me when I tell you, we want to do this for, not just for you, but for all of our safety. So there is nothing, we're not holding it up on purpose in any way. As soon as we can do it, we're going to do it. I promise you that. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Clabo, anything? And I did have some notes in the margin here. I forgot to mention them. We will, I mean, the RRFB's construction is in the budget for 2024. Our intention is to have it done as early in 2024 as possible. PennDOT has the design, and we're still waiting for their approval. When we get that approval for the design, we will look at bidding it out. So at the same time, we should hear about the Arley grant. So all that's to me should be evident by, and I talked to the engineer after the meeting last time, by December, we should, sometime in December, we should know about the Arley grant and then how to go into the next step of getting bids and getting into construction as soon as possible. There's a couple of different ways we can pay for it. The number that I remember seeing, but I looked and I couldn't find it, but the number that I remember seeing was $158,000. So I think that answers a couple of questions. But again, put it in writing and we'll get you an answer that way too, so you have it. You feel like maybe something's more tangible that way. Okay. That concludes our member reports. I should say that we're missing Kyle Davis this evening. He let us know kind of late in the process that he could not make it this evening. So, all right. No public hearings, no land development, reports of officials. That would bring us to our engineers report.
Thank you.
Mr. Kandari.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item here is for the Lower Dolington Road Multi-Use Trail, change order number 6. This change order reflects balancing of the signage and striping items to account for pavement markings that were not placed under this contract. So this is a net negative change order in the amount of $18,395.
How does that work? Do they owe us that money back and it's subtracted off the ledger?
We haven't paid for it yet, so no, it wouldn't
Okay.
be they wouldn't owe us anything back. We
Right.
just wouldn't pay it out of that
Right, we're
that
just
line item.
acknowledging the change.
Correct.
Okay, got it. When we get a motion on the floor, have a motion to approve change order number 6 for Lower Darlington Road Trail. I could entertain a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Now we can have any discussion around it.
If you don't mind, you
Yes,
mentioned
please. Yes, please.
signage. Signage is a particular issue with me lately on Lower Darlington Road because of the stop sign that was sawed off. I learned that it wasn't actually sawed off. It was unbolted somehow. But are you talking about moving signs? I'm not sure what you.
This is for the striping that was,
Striping?
yeah, just the line striping in Darlington Road that we removed from the contract.
Oh, okay.
That was originally part of this project.
The striping then you gave over to Harris.
Correct. It was done when
And
that
they did a terrible job, by the way. I want to say they put striping in only if it was the widest possible, but when I got to the actual curb, they decided not to put in the smaller little stripes to finish it off. So I guess we already paid Harris all that, and we can't get them to come back and finish the striping that I think is really, in a number of places, unfinished. But anyway, this is negative $18,000 or so, is that it?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So is it so that we can't get them to come back and fix some of the mistakes that they made in the striping? Is that-
As part of this project,
That'd be, oh, sorry, yes.
And Harris has to do with the road program, but. All right, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving change order number 6 for Lower Darlington Road multi-use trail, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. next order is Lower Dollington Multi-Use Trail Payment Certificate.
Correct. This is for payment certificate number 6. We have reviewed and recommend payment to Associated Paving Contractors in the amount of $193,246.80 for work that has been completed as part of this payment certificate number 6.
So let's get a motion on the floor. The motion would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, to pay payment certificate number 6 for Lower Dollington Road Multi-Use Trail.
Correct.
Is there a motion to that effect? I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. So this is for work already done.
This is for work that's been completed, correct.
Is there still retainage that we have for the
That's
Dollington
right,
Road
yeah.
Trail? We have leverage to make sure that they get all the checklists.
Yeah, as part of this payment, we are currently holding 2% retainage, which equates to $21,757.21.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Well, I guess this is where I can have a dialogue, maybe, about this punch list that you mentioned in your report. You began addressing punch list items. The contractor began punch list items on October 27th, 2023. And you are currently inspecting the work performed. I inspected the work that wasn't performed. Can I mention that to you? According to the August 23rd final punch list, item number 21, install washers on all guide rail posts and seal around post bottoms. I went over there today, as you're aware, I need to do my cardiac, and I walk on the trail almost every day. And I have a photograph of several posts where the material on the bottom hasn't been sealed yet. So that's item 21. Are you aware of that?
I am aware, yes.
Okay. And then there's item number 31, complete installation of guide rail end treatment between Stanford Drive and Everett Drive. I did a video of that where there are 2 bolts missing, and that is still missing as of today. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware that that's on the punch list. I wasn't aware if that work has been completed or not.
I can assure you it has not been completed. If you want to see the video, it's on my cell phone, but I don't think you'll learn anything new about that.
I'll corroborate. The last time I checked, it was still.
Okay.
So this retainage, is that something, if they, for some reason, do not, I don't know if there's other things on the list, maybe Ms. Snyder has any?
The trees haven't been moved, that's a big one, I keep saying, waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, there's a number of things like that we're not sure have been done. I'm just looking at the things on your punch list that haven't been done on the August punch list, anyway. So this retainage, that we get to keep if they refuse to do this work, or how does that work?
I don't know the total legality of it, but I mean, that's money we're holding from them that is for work that they have completed. And we can hold that until we believe that the contract has been completed per the project plans. And we have agreed to this punch list item, these punch list items that you refer to, and if they have not been completed, we will hold them to that for them to complete.
Well, I mean, you've been holding that for them to complete since August. It is now 3 months, almost 3 months later.
I understand, yeah.
How much more time do we hold them before we, let's say, take that $21,000 and hire me to go in there and put the bolts in and put the tar in the bottom? I'd be glad to take the $21,000 to do that.
Check with your cardiologist.
I mean, I'm just curious, are they going to do it or are they not going to do it? I mean, it's taking them a while. They did a great job, by the way, with the ADA ramp on Stanford Drive, and I do not see any more water puddling there. So I was very happy they did that. And the only other question I had, I don't know if this is meant for you or not, but when are we going to take off the plastic bags from the signs? We got plastic bags on the signs. We're going to have an ordinance against plastic bags. We got to take those bags off.
That was a couple of rhetorical questions there, I think, but, all right. So we have a motion and a second on the payment certificate number 6 for Lower Dolington Road Trail. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in paying the certificate number 6 for payment certificate number 6 for Lower Dolington Road multi-use trail, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Okay, moving on. 27 Blacksmith Road, a planning module.
That's correct. We've completed a review of the planning module submitted by Pickering Courts and Summerson for 27 Blacksmith Road. We have found this submission to be complete, and we can confirm that the sewer connections are allocated in the connection management plan. So we recommend this be reviewed and approved by the board.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the planning module for 27 Blacksmith Road? Do we have a second? Second. So we have a motion and a second. I guess in terms of discussion, I just had a point for the for the audience, for the public, that this is related to sewer connections.
That's correct.
Okay. So planning module. Anybody have any other questions about the planning module? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Oh, let me ask the public. Any questions about the planning module for 27 Blacksmith Road? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the planning module for sewer connection at 27 Blacksmith Road, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And one last item, Promenade at Sycamore Street, the certificate of completion number 7.
This is for, as you said, the certificate of completion number 7. This was prepared by CKS engineers. They have reviewed a developer's request for a reduction in the amount of financial security posted for the site improvements of the above referenced project. We are in agreement with the CKS recommendation for the release of $156,000 of associated escrow monies.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the certificate of completion number 7 for the Promenade at Sycamore Street? Do we have a motion? I'll make the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, keeping us in suspense. Okay. I noticed that there's still like $136,000 left.
That's correct, yeah.
Will there be a certificate of completion number 8 at some point?
Yes, yes,
Or number 8 and number 9 if there's only part of that?
correct.
Okay. And these do take a while to be completed. Because the
what-
promenade's been around for several years.
I'm just looking at the remaining items here. And like I said, this was prepared by CKS engineers. I'm not totally sure why these items have not been released, but sure enough, there's $136,000 being
Yeah.
held. I'm sure they're gonna, ask for that release
Yep,
at some point.
okay. Sorry to put you on the spot for
No,
that.
that's okay.
Any other discussion?
CKS will approve the rest of this punch list eventually, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Calabro. Any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying the certificate of completion number 7 for the promenade at Sycamore Street, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr., for filling in for your peer.
Thank you.
Solicitor report. Yes, turn on your mic.
The board will recall that on October 25th, 2023, there was a conditional use hearing held on the application of Life After 40 Inc. doing business as Body 20. That's a C6 athletic facility located, I think, in the old GNC storefront. The hearing was completed, and a vote was taken to have the solicitor draft a conditional use decision, which is in your packets before you. The purpose of this item is basically to have a motion to approve the conditional use decision. And so if you're of a mind, it would be to motion to approve the conditional use decision on the application of Life After 40 Inc. doing business as Body 20.
Thank you. You said it before I could push my microphone. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Have any discussion? Mr. Shankman, let me see. We're just approving the write-up of what we decided already.
At the last meeting, you actually had a vote to approve everything, and as part of that process, you needed a formal decision drafted and approved.
And this is it.
This is it.
Yep. Do we have any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of approving the conditional use decision for Life After 40 Incorporated, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
I thank the board for that. That's the entirety of the solicitor's report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor, and thank you for filling in this evening.
Happy to oblige.
Yep. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance this evening is $6,886,590. Plan expirations before the board with no action required. We have Chief Hearn to give his monthly chief's report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Manager. November police report for 2023. It's actually for the month of October. We documented 2,215 calls for service. We logged just under 23,000 in our patrol fleet. We had 20 arrests for the month, including 5 assaults, 1 intimidation of the witness, 3 outstanding warrants, 2 retail thefts, a narcotics violation, 1 fraud, 1 protection from abuse violation, 1 criminal mischief, 1 eluding police, and 4 DUIs. Very busy month. There were 13 new cases referred to detectives for investigation, with 6 crime scenes processed, some of which included a homicide in Wrightstown Township, 4 death investigations determined to be natural, 3 frauds, 1 extortion, 1 auto theft, and 3 trial lines. There were 106 traffic crashes, 34 which involved deer. 153 citations were issued, and 262 warnings were issued. We had 2 truck enforcement details, resulting in 36 truck inspections. We issued 8 citations on them inspections, 41 warnings, 2 vehicles were placed out of service. Notable jobs on both the 14th and the 22nd of the month. We had 2 overdoses within our township, and our officers administered Narcan, successfully reviving both individuals. Significant events, as I mentioned, we had 1 criminal homicide on 10/7 in Wrightstown Township. That investigation is still ongoing. On 11/5, even though it's this month, we did respond also to Northampton's police-involved shooting on Elm Avenue for a male armed with a knife. Public service announcements. We had our drug take-back on October 28th. We collected a total of 94 pounds of unwanted narcotics and over 202 pounds at our collection box within our police station, totaling 296 pounds of narcotics were disposed of properly. We still are seeking a part-time employment opportunity for a school crossing guard. If you know anybody of interest, please submit your resume and letter of intent or interest to the Newtown Township Police Department. Bucks County Constituent Police Exam was held on 10/28. Wasn't a big list, so I would encourage you all to tell your neighbors, friends interested in law enforcement to submit your applications to our department. Deer crashes are up. It's that time of year again. Please slow down, use your high beams. Do not go into the opposite lane of travel to avoid the deer. It's better safety for yourself and for the other pedestrians and other motorists. And also with the holidays coming up, porch pirates are back in session. So if you're getting packages delivered, make sure you're home to collect them. Have your neighbors pick them up. Have them dropped off at your workplace. Figure out alternatives. Go to the store and pick them up yourself to alleviate problems. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have one quick one, and then we'll go. Post office thefts, post office box thefts.
The post office installed 2 theft deterrent boxes on Terry Drive. They were once again broken into with a crowbar. The post office has since placed them out of service. We continue to make periodic checks. I would strongly encourage anybody dropping off mail to drop it off inside the post office. I wouldn't even use your post office, your mailbox at your own residence, because they have been known to go to your own residence and remove the mail if you indicate your flag up, waiting for the mailman to deliver. So I would take the extra energy and time to drop off within the post office during our normal operation hours.
Thank you. And that was Ms. Snyder's question as well. Any other questions?
Yeah, Chief, I was approached by someone who, I think they know someone's trying to scam them because they keep getting calls about a lost set of keys. And I mean, these keys are being found all over the place. Most recently, they got a call that they were found in South Carolina and that there was a reward for $250 on these set of keys. I saw a picture of the keys, and I mean, they look like they're from 1920. They're so rusted out. Is this something that this person can come and report, or they just have to suck it up and just keep?
We would take a report from them. Basically, the solvability factors is very limited. It comes down to the common sense of individuals doing your own due diligence. If you lost a set of keys, get your keys replaced at a locksmith. Don't buy into new telephone calls or solicitation that you don't know who they're coming from, because the scams are all over the place. From your grandson's locked up and in custody and we need $10,000 to get him out of jail, otherwise he's going to prison.
Yeah.
And people have been paying cash and going to CVS and buying gift cards for whatever reason. There's all kinds of plans out there. When in doubt, do not do it. Hang up, call the actual direct person yourself, using the phone number that's on your bill that you have on file. Don't use the number, don't recall the number that they're actually calling you on, because this will be them answering the phone. Mm-hmm. Just do your own due diligence to protect yourself. There's a lot of people out there that are looking to take advantage of others.
Great. I just want to let you know we have very intelligent deer in this town, because I did see deer crossing at a deer crossing. I was amazed.
And did they look both ways?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, can't you put those deer crossing signs somewhere else so they cross where it's not so dangerous?
Maybe we can get some more flashing lights, I don't know. We'll work something out.
I want to say thank you for your warnings about fraud, because I did notice, I thought that fraud seems to be decreasing maybe a little bit. One thing that disturbed me, I don't know if it's part of your, you mentioned intimidation. Is that something that had an ethnic component? Because I noticed one of your reports on the crime channel mentioned some ethnic.
Now, the ethnic intimidation was as a result of the recent Israeli incidents that happened last week. The intimidation incident was a car crash from over a year ago, where one of the offenders was trying to intimidate one of the independent witnesses.
Okay, so you don't really notice a big uptick in this ethnic issue happening?
Now, we had one incident locally that was addressed. Criminal charges are pending on that particular incident. We're making periodic checks at all our vulnerable sites to make sure that the safety of the public on both sides are actually taken care of. You're welcome.
No other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Chairman, I have one other item for the board to consider. As you're aware, the township contracts with Huff Associates to submit the annual 904 grant, which is a recycling grant to the state of Pennsylvania. Their current contract is expiring, so they have provided us with an additional 3-year contract and the associated pricing along with it. Appropriate motion would be a motion to approve the Huff Associates contract renewal.
Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
And we have a second? I'll second. Okay, thank you. Motion and a second. Is it customary, I see there's a annual increase of what looks to be like maybe 3%?
Yeah.
So that's customary.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just, this is for commercial recycling. Can you just explain that a little bit more? I mean, does this have anything to do with our current garbage hauler?
No, it's for commercial customers. So a store has a recycling dumpster. They're required to keep track of how many tons and pounds they have when they empty the dumpsters. Okay. And then they report that to the state, and the township gets revenue from it.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mack, did you have a question?
That was my question.
Okay, cool. Do we have any no other comments from the board? How about from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the Howe Associates contract renewal, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
That's all I had to report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. No one to fill in for you tonight, huh? Ms. Snyder, Bill's minutes.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve our minutes of our October 25th meeting, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of October 25th, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
I'd like to make a motion to pay our bills in the amount of $628,579.20.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying our bills as listed on the November 8th bill list, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1.
Finally, I'd like to make a motion to approve the total of interfund transfers in the amount of $325,887.33.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for interfund transfers. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor of paying our transfers as listed on the November 8th bills list, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. That brings us to our second round of public comment. Is there any other public comment this evening? Please come forward and use the microphone.
John DeApril, Newtown Grant, biggest and the best. I'd like to go over some of the things you brought up earlier, using the analogy of homeowners association dues with raising taxes to the township. You guys kind of strong-armed. I don't know, it was, only been here 27 years, but you guys kind of forced them to do homeowners associations. So trying to, equate homeowners association dues with township taxes is kind of ridiculous. Brought it up before. One of the other things you said in the budget was the LED lighting. You wanted the township to do LED lighting, but you stopped the businesses in the township from using LED lighting. That's also, it's contradiction. The flashing lights, I told you before that, the people aren't going to be happy with the flashing lights because it doesn't really cut it out. It may stop it, some of it, but it's not going to stop it. The crosswalks, the same thing. A lot of cars don't stop for it, so it's not a matter of getting it done as quick as possible. I don't think they're going to be happy with that anyway. Plastic bags, it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of, I have a prepared statement that I'm going to bring up later, but guys ain't going to get any of that now. Just have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeApril. Yes. And please state your name and what community you're from. Hit the button. There's a button right in the front.
Oh, hi. Fran Haller. I live in Newtown Grant. About the single-use plastic, will this take effect for, like, campaign signs? They're plastic. Your signs were plastic. And so, well, in the future, will it be just, you have to have a cardboard sign? That's, if you're going to do...
I think that's an awesome question, and it's something that...
No, use your...
I'm sorry. Something that we only have control over what we do locally, and what, like, national or countywide candidates, we don't have any control over that. And in other words, so an ordinance that's in effect for Newtown Township will not necessarily be in effect for Doylestown Township unless they decide to do the same thing. And nationally, I mean, that's a mess that I can't even begin to think about. But I would hope that everybody from the bottom up gets the idea and understands that we all have to participate, even with campaign signs. And thank you, because that's a really good point.
Just one other point. From reading about this in other areas that did this ban on the plastic bags, there was a lot of theft in grocery stores where people would just walk out with 2 packages of steak. And so will this be a burden on our businesses like an Acme or McCaffrey's? Somebody standing there at the door, can I see your receipt? Can I see your receipt? Because the person might say, oh, I forgot to bring in my, reusable bag, and just walk out with products.
I understand that question as well. All I can say is McCaffrey's, Acme, they've done this in other states already that have already passed this. That is not something that they have brought up to us as being a factor. Certainly a question that can be asked, that's for sure, but they've never said, we are afraid that this is going to happen. That has never, we've never heard that yet. Okay, I hear you. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. I see another comment. Please state your name and your community.
Sure, my name is Kathy Butler from Newtown Grant. You mentioned several times single-use plastic bags. They're not quite single-use. A lot of us residents and homeowners and so forth, we use our bags many, many, many times. And people use them to pick up their dog waste and so forth. And if you go to the store, you're buying a plastic bag for dog waste. So I don't really see, and just for your information, I don't know if you people do know that the recyclable trucks that the trash haulers use go to the same landfill as the trash. They're not going to other places. They're being stored and compacted down with the same trash that we all collect. There is no recyclable.
As a former owner of a recycling business, I can tell you that what you said is 100% correct, especially since countries like China have stopped taking some of the waste that they used to take, like plastics. That's exactly what happens. Recycling is a myth that is perpetuated by oil companies. There is no recycling anymore, I'm sorry to say, except for glass can be recycled, aluminum can be recycled, and pretty much it's very limited after that.
Right.
So yes, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, let me ask if there's any old business anyone wants to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I think back in May, we talked about the audiovisual situation here, and a resident just recently said she cannot hear some things going on, and I'd just like to get an update on when we're going to, I think, what was the decision there? We have to have a revision of that proposal? We discussed it, and
We'd had a work session where we discussed that in depth.
how can we move this forward?
We can put it on an agenda if you would like to request.
I request that
I've been
we,
contemplating getting
Yep.
that back on. Anyway, so if you want to add your,
It is in the budget for this year,
yes,
so we should definitely do that before the year ends.
it's in the ARPA. It's on the ARPA plan, and it's on for 2024 as well, so. Well, I'm sorry?
It'll carry forward.
It'll carry forward. But yes, we need to get something before us and take some action.
Okay, great.
So that's old business. Any new business? No need for an executive session. With that, and without objection of anyone, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.